Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander Darren Green. The Last Post ceremony this evening commemorates the 105th anniversary of the Second Battle of Gaza. The Second Battle of Gaza took place 3 weeks after the First Battle of Gaza and began on the 17th of April, 1917. In the interim, the Turks had extended and improved their defences. Lieutenant General de Bell, the British officer commanding the operation, launched another frontal assault on the Turkish defences, which was supported by 6 tanks and gas shells. The tanks and the gas were both dismal failures, and the attacking forces could make little headway against well-sighted Turkish redoubts. After 3 days of fighting, the attack was called off, having not gained any significant ground. This evening, we will tell the story of Trooper Frederick Lampard Hunt, who was killed during the Second Battle of Gaza. Tonight, we're honoured to acknowledge Major General John Boswell, Chief of Army New Zealand, accompanied by Lieutenant General Rick Burr, Chief of Army Australia, and their accompanying delegation. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria, and RSL Queensland, who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the national anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament flowers of the forest, wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Trooper Frederick Lampard Hunt. Frederick Hunt was born on the 22nd of March 1893 in Naddymook near Horsham in Victoria. Known as Fred, he was one of 4 children born to local orchardist Henry Hunt and his wife Joanna. Fred grew up near the locality of Kwantong and received his education at the local state school, where he was a member of the cadets and the local Methodist church. On completion of his education, he gained employment as a contractor. Fred Hunt enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 29th of June 1915, alongside his brother Robert and several of his cousins. Fred and Robert were allocated to reinforcements of the 8th Light Horse Regiment and began a short period of training in Australia. The brothers embarked for active service from Melbourne on the 20th of August that year, sailing on board the troopship Kiara. Trooper Hunt and his brother arrived in Egypt in late December 1915, joining members of their unit who had recently been evacuated from the Gallipoli Peninsula. Shortly after, Hunt's unit became part of the Anzac Mounted Division and joined the forces defending the Suez Canal in early 1916. After Turkish forces were turned back at the Battle of Romani in August, Hunt's unit joined the advance, which followed the retreating enemy back across the Sinai Desert. Robert Hunt described their pursuit in a letter home to their family. Although we had been for so long out here scouring the desert, this was the first time that we had actually encountered the enemy in any force. We had no sooner shown our heads over the hill behind which we camped when the bullets began to hum around us. As we advanced, they began to get thicker and closer. This was the first time a lot of us had been under fire, myself included. All the morning there was a constant exchange of rifle, machine gun and artillery fire, their shells doing considerable damage amongst our horses. By the end of 1916, Allied forces had reached the Palestine frontier. In December, the Hunt brothers took part in their first major battle of the war when the 8th Light Horse helped secure the village of Magdaba. A later successor, Rafah, in early January 17, allowed Allied forces to push through into Palestine, finally expelling the Turks from the Sinai. Their next clash with the enemy came during the Allies' second attempt to capture the Turkish stronghold of Gaza on the 19th of April 1917. An earlier attack on the city in March had failed after attacking infantry had mounted troops were ordered to withdraw on the cusp of victory. By the time Hunt and his comrades advanced on the city some 3 weeks later, the Turks had enhanced and extended their defences, making the Allies' second attempt at capturing Gaza even more difficult than the first. Their frontal assault on Gaza was supported by tanks, artillery, armoured cars and gas shells, most of which proved useless on the battlefield. British infantry units attacked the city directly, while the mounted units attacked to the east. As the 8th Light Horse reached the Turkish redoubts on the right flank, they came under heavy fire from machine gun positions. Armoured cars, which were brought later in, only served to draw further the fire of the advancing troops, causing multiple casualties. By the end of the day, having made no significant gains, Allied units were forced to withdraw, suffering a staggering 6,500 casualties. Among the dead was Trooper Fred Hunt. Owing to the withdrawal, his body was never recovered from the battlefield. Today, he is commemorated on the Jerusalem Memorial near where he fell. After his death, Fed's father described him saying, "He was a faithful, diligent worker, strictly upright and trustworthy. He weighed well to the cost of enlisting and seeing it eventually as a plain duty, fearlessly took up the stand to add to his already numerous unselfish acts in his last and supreme sacrifice. As a son and brother, he was affectionate, generous and thoughtful, and was held in high esteem by all." Fred Hunt was 25 years old. His name is listed on the honour roll on my right amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving the First World War. His photograph is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Trooper Frederick Lampard Hunt, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozier or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director and staff, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.